Hello, all, and good afternoon. I just saw where the Supreme Court has ruled for school choice, which is a good thing, but I do not think they went far enough. A case out in Montana where the state Supreme Court ruled that a law had to be scrapped completely, and the Supreme Court just said, nope, it applies to everybody. So before I get to that story, could you all do me a big favor and hit the subscribe button and the like button? It would really help me out in the algorithms. On to the story. Supreme Court strikes down state ban on taxpayer funding for religious schools. Uh, as I said before, I don't think it goes far enough. I think it should say whatever. If the state's going to say, okay, we're going to spend $45,000 a year on each student, parent who wants to send their kid to a private school, be it religious, secular, or whatever, to get that $45,000 for his or her for their kid is sent to a private school. This will make public schools compete instead of having a near monopoly. The Supreme Court on Tuesday struck down a ban on taxpayer funding for religious schools in a narrow but significant win for school choice movement. In the ruling, in the 5-4 ruling authored by Chief Justice John Roberts, the court essentially backed a Montana tax credit scholarship program that gave residents up to $150 credit for donating to private scholarship organizations, helping students pay for their choice of private schools. That's bullshit. $150. $150 when I was going to college will only give me one book, maybe two. The state revenue department made a rule banning those tax credit scholarships from going to religious schools before the state Supreme Court later struck down the entire program. A state need not subsidize private education, but once a state decides to do so, it cannot disqualify some private schools solely because they are religious, Roberts wrote in a court opinion. Under the program, family receiving a scholarship originally could use it at any qualified educational provider, which the court opinion noted means any private school that meets certain accreditation, testing, and safety requirements. The Montana Department of Revenue, citing the state's constitution, then changed the definition of qualified education provider to exclude those owned or controlled in whole or in part by any church, religious sect, or denomination. The decision, which the state attorney general disagreed with, was based on a no aid clause in the state's constitution, which bars the state from giving aid to schools controlled in, a, in whole or part by any church, sect, or denomination. Parents of children attending religious private schools sued, and the lower court ruled in their favor, holding that tax credits did not violate the state's constitution because they were not appropriations made to a religious institution. The state Supreme Court overruled that decision and ordered the entire program scrapped. Oh, yeah. Sounds like, oh shit, we don't have a choice. Let's just get rid of the whole program because we don't like religion. I feel that I feel that we are being excluded simply because we are people of religious backgrounds or because our children want to go to a religious school. Kendra Espinoza, a lead plaintiff in the case, said after the Supreme Court heard oral arguments in the case in January. We're here to stand up for our rights as people of faith to have the same opportunities that a secular school child would have. Roberts noted that the Montana Scholarship Program is no way violation of the U.S. Constitution, noting the Supreme Court has repeatedly held that the Establishment Clause is not offended when religious observers and organizations benefit from neutral government programs. The Chief Justice pointed out that neither side in this case disputed this. What was at issue is in the case is the First Amendment free exercise clause, which applies to the states through the 14th Amendment, which forbids that prohibits the free exercise of religion. Roberts said the Montana Supreme Court erred when it failed to recognize the state's constitution no aid clause violates the First Amendment. Oh, so could that make the whole state constitution unconstitutional? That's an interesting question to think of, and I'm not that big of a religious of a constitutional scholars to argue that. When the court was called upon to apply state law, no aid provision to exclude religious school from programs, it was obligated by the federal constitution to reject the invitation, Robert wrote. In its sitting opinion, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg argued that there was no constitutional violation because the program ended up being shut down entirely, leaving families from all schools in the same position. Justice Sotomayor argued in her own dissent that the Montana State Court decision was based on a state law having nothing to do with the Free Exercise Clause. The Constitution applies to everything, idiot. Roberts rejected these arguments because the program was eliminated by a court and not based upon some inconsistent principle of state law. In a third dissent, Justice Stephen Breyer, along with Kagan, argued that while Montana aid program inclusive of religious school may not have been forbidden by the First Amendment Establishment Clause, it was not required by the First Free Exercise Clause, as Roberts claimed it was. Tuesday's ruling is a victory for school choice proponents and some conservative religious groups who have challenged the provision in courts. Montana program was similar to many across the state, and other states have proposed tax credit scholarships programs but not passed them due to the confusion about their legality. Roberts once again served as a swing vote in the 5-4 decision. This time he joined their fellow justices in the conservative wing of the court. On Monday, Republicans wailed against, he jumped. He is 100% independent. He goes by the law. He does not go by ideology. We need more people like Roberts on the court. So, what do you guys think about the decision? Do you think it's the right decision, or do you think it's wrong? I'd like to hear about it down below. Also, if you made it this far, could you hit the like button and subscribe? And as always, everyone, be good, have fun, stay safe. Bye bye.